Welcome back to the Feeble Minded Podcast. Today I'm joined by content creator and skateboarder Brett Conti. What's going on, Brett?
Dude, thanks for having me. This is a family reunion. You forgot to say that we are blood cousins, and I've
I
known
know.
you since the day I've been born. So I'm so stoked to be
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I'm stoked. Thanks for coming on. It's cool to actually sit and talk like this instead of just normal, kind of casual, really dig into your life. So I'm
Right,
excited, man.
yeah. Because we're usually just joking around at like Christmas or Thanksgiving. So now it'll be cool to
Yeah.
like really go into the things that we've gotten to do together and like how we ended up, where we're at now, which is so crazy to think where we
Yeah.
started.
Yeah. So, I was actually going to start from a point where I kind of went my own way and we stopped skating together. It
Mhm.
was around college time.
Yeah.
But hey, we did start skating together at 7, 8 years old. So,
Yeah.
if you have any memories from then, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you're around like 5, 6 years older than me, and I remember you getting me into skating when you really got into it, where you probably were around like 12, 13, right?
Yeah.
So I was around 6 or 7, and I just remember you being so hard on me in the best way possible. You were just such like a you were so passionate about skateboarding even back then. And so was I, but you pushed me so hard early mornings, late nights to like learn how to ollie, to kickflip, everything. So it's cool that we still stuck with it since literally like what is that, 24 years ago or something. So it's really
Yeah.
cool that we're both like still love skateboarding, have gotten to like build it into our careers, and it's crazy how it all started.
Yeah. It's so funny you say being hard on you. I know I get so absorbed and locked into everything. And I remember thinking I wanted to teach you every single thing I wish I had learned. You know what I mean? So I was just
Yeah.
you got to do it this way. You got to do it this
Uh-huh.
way. I messed up on
Yeah, no,
this.
you definitely like made me cry a couple times because I couldn't
Really?
kickflip. Well, I
Yeah.
remember my first kickflip was you had me close my eyes and
Okay.
put my feet into position, and then you're like just ollie and kick out and just jump as high as you can. And then I did that and I opened my eyes and I was back on my board, and that was my first kickflip.
I think I vaguely remember that actually. so
No
much,
one ever forgets their first kickflip.
so much of that time period, it's I was much more wild back then. Some
Yeah.
things I regret. I hear these stories, and I'm like, I can't believe I even behaved that way. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I mean that was still even at, I feel like, very adolescent for you, where I remember even when you were in like 15, 16 was when you were the troublemaker Chad and going
Yeah.
through a phase of figuring out your life. I even I was even probably like 11 at this time, and I was even like, I wonder what Chad's going to be like as an adult, because you were pretty reckless.
Really?
Yeah, I remember
Even
thinking
that young,
really.
you would think that.
Yeah, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
yeah, I used to be like, whoa, like Chad is a crazy man. Like this guy's like just nuts. Like you always were, you know, always took everything to the extreme. And it's really cool to see things come full circle to now, like you still with skateboarding, but like so level-headed. You are such a, honestly, I never would have expected you to do the things that you're doing now, but I couldn't be more proud.
Yeah, I figured it took a long time, but I figured out a way to channel that energy
Yeah.
and not, keep messing up. But
Yeah.
I
Wait,
was
I gotta
always,
say,
yeah.
I was gonna say, I got something else to say that I just remembered. You used to be so hard on me too. Do you remember this? So I started getting good at skateboarding at what, around like 13, 14. Started doing contests, started going to Tampa Am, started getting big sponsors, I was getting hooked up by like Gino Iannucci and Nike, getting hooked up by Zoo York,
Yeah.
even Blinds before that. And I became very competitive with it and started doing all the contests like Tampa Am. And I remember you've always been the core skater, the
Yeah.
chorus of the core.
Yeah.
And you used to, in a family friendly way, like tease me.
Yeah.
And you guys used to call me Brett Contesti.
I
Obviously, that never
remember.
like hurt my feelings or anything.
Yeah.
But it's funny to look back now, like still how like core and how much you do for skateboarding. And I did always see it a bit more of like, not as an athlete, but like I did want to like take it more as like a competitive sport, and did all the
Yeah.
contests, did every damn am, Tampa am, was traveling all over the place for contests. But you
Yeah.
definitely always had that core skate
Yeah.
mindset.
And I've definitely grown out of that as I've gotten older and understood
Yeah.
like a lot of those things, they're just these ideas built into skateboarding and they're kind of judgmental.
Hmm.
And, but I mean, it's impressive that you kind of pushed through that, even us and all the friends kind of teasing you about doing contest, and you still had that vision. And I
Yeah.
think like that's what it takes to be a pro or be successful. Like you were, gung ho on doing that and saw like how are you going to make a living off of skating? Like if you're not doing contests and getting
Yeah.
sponsors, like what are you going to do? Just film videos with your friends like in, your local streets? It's like kind of tough to really make that work.
Right. Yeah. And I think it even goes to show with like, as you know, like I was definitely one of at the forefront of doing even like skate YouTube.
Yeah.
There weren't many people doing it when I started it in like 2000. Ooh, that was like 2015, 2016 almost, and got made fun of so much from that.
Yeah.
So I do think it's always just having like your own principles and goals and ethics align, and as long as you're okay with your decisions and not
Yeah.
listening to people who are maybe don't have the same beliefs as you, like as long as you know that it's good,
Yeah.
then like that's all that matters. And I think that's always what I like told myself and how like I was raised.
Yeah. No, it's an
But
awesome lesson. Yeah. And I actually started learning that from doing YouTube because you get
mhm,
all these comments and people thinking you should do it this way or that way. So it kind of like showed me to really hone in on what it is I want to do
yeah,
and just
yeah, I
follow
never
my
thought you'd
journey.
be doing YouTube.
Yeah. Me
Like
either.
it's
I mean, from how,
crazy that
yeah.
like we both stuck with skateboarding. We both like
Yeah.
got into like, you know, have that be such a strong part of our lives, but then also the YouTube world as well.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy that you used to
Yeah.
not have a cell phone. It was like impossible to get a hold of you. You had to send like a mail carrier pigeon to like hit you up to go skate because
Yeah.
you had no internet.
I remembered everyone's phone numbers. I was like off the grid. I would like pick up everyone's phone to call people, or people would call like
Hmm.
your phone to get in touch with
Yep.
me. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
funny,
So
man.
it's crazy now that you daily vlogged like for
Yeah.
so many days and
Complete flip flop. Yeah.
yeah, I
Um,
know.
I was actually curious, like, what, when did you go from just making videos, like skate videos and stuff like that, to being like, I'm gonna make YouTube videos? You know what I mean?
I guess it was always the goal. Like I knew I loved skateboarding and like still I'm so kept up with it and know every new video part. Like you and I text all the time. I'm DMing you
Yeah.
new clips. Like I'm so invested into the world and always will be and love skateboarding. But as I got older and having the mindset I do, I went to school for finance. I used to work at Morgan Stanley for a little bit and always just had like a big ambitious goals in a sense. I only lasted like so shortly at the
Yeah.
finance world.
I was gonna
And
ask you
then
about that, so we'll get to that. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I always knew I had like big goals for my career and for myself. And I knew that because we can get into this as well later, but from starting Fortune Skateboards with Manny Santiago, where there's not really much money in skate hard goods. It's really near impossible to like actually create a sustainable living from a skateboard company. And also when you love something like that, it's really hard to have it be something that you're like trying to make money from because skateboarding, as
Yeah.
we know, like it is like not something that you go into with like a money mindset.
Yeah.
So I had to make the decision, when Manny and I stopped making boards about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago almost now,
Hmm.
that I was still gonna love skateboarding, but not try and rely on that for an income. Figure out
Okay.
other ways. And that's where, to answer your question, it came down to like I loved making videos still, which I got into from making skate videos that,
Yeah.
my YouTube channel is from 2006 to post
Yeah.
skate videos of us.
Exactly. Yeah. Home videos,
Uh,
basically. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So I knew I loved making videos still, and I knew that I could kind of dive into a different world of more like lifestyle, travel, adventure filmmaking
Okay.
that I learned from skateboarding, but not have to rely on like the skateboarding aspect of it to make an
Okay.
income.
So when you really were like, I'm gonna start being a YouTuber, um, you kind of had the vision for a company and like to grow it in that way.
Yeah, like at first it was to even like help grow Fortune,
Right.
in a sense where I was like, broke living in some Chinatown apartment with seven strangers as roommates running the company. So it was like, all right, I need to, and I just finished finance business school, so I was like, reverse engineering. How can I like create a successful living? And at this point, it was still in the skate world, and that was by growing on social media to
Yeah.
getting a bigger audience to be able to potentially, um, you know, want to support Fortune.
Yeah.
So at first, it was to kind of like build brand awareness, but then that kind of led into realizing that's not the best approach in the skate world and diving and shifting gears into more of like a lifestyle route.
So I know because I grew up around you that
Yeah.
when you were doing this, your dad wanted you to keep going down the finance route, and so you
Yeah.
were trying to do this company at the same time. So like, what was that like? You know,
Yeah. I mean, I honestly always say this. I don't even know if I've maybe said this to you, but it's like you were almost like a second father figure to me.
really?
Yeah,
I mean,
like
I felt like
you,
older brother. I've been around a
yeah,
lot.
older
Yeah,
brother,
yeah,
but like, yeah, I guess older brother is like accurate, but you know, my parents separated when I was young, and like my dad, I only got to see every so often because he lived out of state. So I spent so much time with you, and I feel like I had, you taught me so much from skateboarding that skateboarding itself even taught me so many life lessons and principles that I still have with me today. And being like, not having a coach and not having anyone like give you
yeah,
the guardrails on life. You have to figure it out on your own. I love that. And I think just like how you and I grew up together taught me like not to listen to the norm. Because when we started, skateboarding was still an outcast. It wasn't really cool.
yeah,
Not until like a little bit later from when we started. So I think never listening to what anyone else ever said and kind of figuring out and making my own decisions is how I like, even when my own dad is like, Brett, like when I quit baseball, I remember he made me like
yeah,
so upset. I think I like shed a tear because he was so disappointed in me.
yeah,
Or when I told him I wasn't gonna,
yeah,
pursue finance at Morgan Stanley, which he got me the job to do my own skateboarding company. Um, he understands now, but I get it as
yeah.
like a father. You just want the best, and I think yeah, always just like listening to your gut has been like my biggest life lesson.
That's an incredible. I mean, what did you call it? Like a leap of faith. I mean, because you had like a career like set, like you were like
Yeah,
basically locked in. You know what I mean? Just like,
yeah.
and you probably weren't making like a ton of money with Fortune at that time specifically.
No,
So to be
no,
like,
no,
yeah,
no.
I'm just gonna like go for this is,
Yeah,
you must
right.
have
It's
had
like
some
I
faith
had
that it
this.
could work. You know?
Yeah, I had like this golden parachute. It's like it's like salary is like a drug where it's like companies just can easily keep you coming back by paying you so
Yeah,
much, and I had to like still take a deep breath, say no to that, and be like,
yeah,
I'm gonna somehow turn Fortune into a successful company. And it did well. I think the hardest part was like, well, first dealing with like small skate shops were kind of difficult, especially at like the time where they weren't normally paying on time. You would maybe agree on net 30, net 60 terms where they would pay from when they received the goods.
yeah,
I remember calling 6 months after they received the goods, still like heckling them for them to pay their invoices.
yeah.
So that's when I realized I needed to again kind of go across the core skateboarding route and somehow get Fortune into Zumiez, which was able
Yeah.
to do, which is a pretty crazy story.
Well, real quick, just like that model wasn't popular at the time, but now basically everyone does it and understands. Yeah, you promote the brand on YouTube and
Yeah.
you get more like interest in it. But then it was like you go to the shops, you do it this way, but the internet
Mhm.
model just makes so much more sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, my model before was find skate shops. And since I was such a like skateboarder that, could throw down and get respect from people, I used to just go to every shop I could and connect with like the riders for that shop and
Hmm.
like hook them up on like a flowgram.
Right.
And that worked a lot. So it's like maybe I wasn't in a shop, but I wanted to get into one. Like classic skate shop in New Jersey. Dope shop, wanted to get into it. Connected with some of their riders, started hooking them up, and then the owner would reach out to me. So I'm not even going there to sell them.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like they were
Yeah.
coming
Yeah.
to me because they saw the dudes that they hooked
Yeah.
up repping the brand.
They were hyped on it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Interesting. Oh,
exactly.
I like that. Yeah. You weren't even just
Yeah.
like kind of walking in there, cold calling like a salesman, like,
Right, right,
yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely that like under the radar approach, but it worked out for a while. Yeah.
So how did you end up getting your brand into Zumiez? Because that probably was what like took it to the next level for you, or made you realize you could do something with it. You know?
Yeah, yeah, like that took me from like a seven apartment with seven strangers as roommate
Yeah,
apartment to like getting my own like not glamorous but like decent apartment and like
yeah,
actually be able to like live comfortably. But yeah, so it's figuring out how I could turn this into a successful career. And when I did the math, I was like, the only way to really do this is to get into Zoomies. That was
Mhm.
like the only way I could figure out. And I didn't know anyone at Zoomies at this point. I'm like 22, 23. So I got a job at Zumiez at Union Square here in New York City, and then after like 2 weeks of just
yeah,
like connecting with people, like I was not there for the money, even though it was nice making a
yeah.
couple $100 a week that I could definitely use at the time. I was just connecting with all the buyers, the district managers, hooking them up with Fortune products to the point where one of them then even asked me. I didn't even have to go to him.
Yeah,
This was my goal though. It was just like, how do I get it
yeah.
in here? They were like, hey, like Zumiez is looking for like some, New York brands to try out. Like, do you want me to put you in touch? And he did. Shout out to my guy Phil. And he, put me in contact with the buyer. But they don't normally do this, so they were a little worried carrying an employee's brand, and they didn't know if I could even like handle
Uh,
the capabilities or anything like that.
yeah.
So I was like, "Hey, I'm so serious about this. I'm quitting right now at the store. Like, let's go." And that's literally what happened. I quit the next day,
Wow.
and we got a purchase order,
But
and was
little did
able
they
to.
know you got the job there
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I
Yeah,
later had
yeah,
like said that to
yeah,
them. Like, you even came to me to a couple Zoomies
yeah,
events at
yeah.
their headquarters in Seattle. So you got
Yep.
to meet like their buyers, and they were super cool guys. They were all like skaters too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like they were
Yeah,
great
they
to
were all
work with.
cool. Was
Yeah,
it
yeah. And they had like,
difficult though, like dealing with that scale, being from where you
um,
were to like jump in the, you know,
yeah,
being
because
in
I
how
was
many stores were you in? You know?
it only started in five, but even
Okay.
like they ordered jackets, sweaters, shirts. So even five stores was bigger than like everything I was doing combined outside of
Yeah,
Zoomies. Like it was
for
like
sure. Yeah.
hundreds, if not 1,000 units.
Okay.
And the first order I shipped out of my mom's garage.
I remember
So
he had the racks all.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. And that was the first and last time I did that because I missed the shipping date, which was so stressful. Like they give you
Really?
a date you need to ship by, and I missed it because I was scrambling to do it all myself. So first time sucked; it was a nightmare. But then for the next order, I figured out the logistics to find a place that could do it all for me. Obviously, took a little bit more of the profits, but at
Yeah.
that point, I was able to, kind of think of the bigger picture, not just like, all right, how can I save $350 on this order? It's like I need to set this up
Right.
for the future.
Damn. That's wild. So
Yeah.
how many stores did it end up getting into? Or do you know?
Yeah, at the peak of it, probably 100. Because
Damn.
then it did super well the first order that they put it into 10, then 20. And then after the clothing was doing well for a while, that's when Manny Santiago approached me. Not even in a serious way. We were just skating at LES one day. He was like, yo, we should do Fortune skateboards. And the next day we like met up at a coffee shop and we birthed the company pretty much.
Funny. Yeah.
Yeah, which was super dope. Like Manny's like one of the greatest humans ever. He's also someone like why we get along so well and got along so well was because he also doesn't give a fuck about like what anyone else thinks and will just do what he thinks is right. And I
Yeah.
think that's why we always connected.
I've noticed that. And he also has a very kind of pure mindset. He's like always healthy and trying to
Yeah.
do, which is funny because when I went on that trip to the Zoomies Seattle with you guys, that's where I ended up quitting smoking.
Yeah. Have you ever like said that publicly? But I
Uh,
remember that. That's
and we're,
when you actually quit everything. Was
I
at
think
the Zoomies event.
I might have mentioned it here or there, or like I think I'm writing it in my book now, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, like you guys bet me that I couldn't quit. And he was
Mhm.
like, "Yeah, I was trying to start a wheel company at the time." And he's like, "I'll post about your wheel company if you could quit." And I was like, in that moment, I was like, "Do I care more about smoking than like, growing this company I want to do?" So that, yeah, right after the trip, quit, and then it kind of just steamrolled. I kept just getting like healthier and healthier, quitting things. So that was definitely a pivotal moment.
Yeah, that is crazy that it all comes back to the Zoomies
Yeah.
like trip that we had. That's crazy. And now
Hmm.
look at you. Now you're sober, don't
Yeah.
smoke cigarettes.
Yeah,
changing the
that
world.
like you said, I'm so extreme, right? You saw it as a kid
Yeah.
and stuff, so I just, I was so extreme on the bad end of things, so I had to
Mhm.
just kind of shift it over to the,
Yeah, like,
the
do you
good side.
cover in your book even? Because, like, I got to experience this from you, like, you like got kicked out of your school in your town and then you had to like come live with me to go to school in my town. Like
Yeah,
you were definitely a troublemaker Chad for a couple of years. Like pretty bad
yeah.
though. Not just like your average kid like getting into trouble. Like it was a
No,
little bit worrisome where I was like, what is Chad gonna be doing when he's an adult, you know?
everything I do to the extreme, and that behavior, lifestyle. Once I got injured, I think I was like 20 or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, I just kept going with it, drinking, and it lasted till I quit at like 29. I just wouldn't
Yeah.
work. I was against society. Like it really, I was all in on that behavior until
Yeah.
luckily I snapped out of it. And you were a huge part of that. I remember you called me and we hadn't talked in so long,
Hmm.
and you were just like, "What's going on, man? Like, what are you up
Yeah.
to?" And I'm
Well,
just
because at
like,
this point, I'm
"Yeah,
still skating so much. Like,
yeah,
I'm like pushing fortune. I'm like going, going, going in this world. And like, my cousin who got me into it is just falling off the face of the planet and it was like getting DUIs left and right, borrowing money from all of our friends.
yeah,
And I remember, yeah, you called and like just being
yeah."
like, dude,
You
what's wrong
didn't.
with you?
You did. I don't even think you like said much. It was just like hearing you and like what you were doing and like, oh, so you're like doing nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
just so like it came out in the conversation, and then
Hmm.
yeah, just kind of caught the bug from you, like the YouTube and the going
Yeah.
down that route. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Because you used to not even be in like any photos. Do you
at
remember
all.
you were like afraid of the internet? You would not do
Yeah,
anything. So it's really cool that you stepped out of your comfort zone to the extreme and
yeah.
now have a podcast, skating across the country,
I
doing
try
so
to
much.
embrace it, and it's usually the things for me, like the things I hate,
Yeah.
that there's usually something there underneath it. Like, why do you hate it so much? It was probably because I wanted to be making videos or making a living off of skating or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So yeah, I'm just happy I was able to like snap out of it, and yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
to you,
No.
honestly. Yeah.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I mean, I always think about how you and I, if we didn't have each other growing up, like where we would be today. Like if I didn't get into skateboarding because of you, like I'd probably be working in finance and like be playing baseball on the weekends. And I'm
You know
so
what?
glad I'm not.
I actually have a question. So you were saying like I was hard on you, which I didn't even realize the extent of it. Do you look
Mhm.
back, like, were you frustrated at the time? Was it like kind of annoying, and do you look back on it being like, oh, actually that
No, I
helped, or
think it
or
was,
does it, what?
yeah, no, I think it was good. Like I wasn't frustrated at the time, but it used to be so hard on me even at like skate spots to like
I remember
if
I
I
would
weren't
push you.
sticking a
Yeah.
trick, like calling me names and like saying all this stuff like if I wouldn't
Really?
go for
Oh
something or
man.
if I wouldn't land something.
Yeah. I don't remember
So in
calling
like a good
names.
way.
Yeah, but
What's
I
up?
remember being I don't remember calling names, but I remember
Okay.
like if you fell and you were like kind of hurt, I'd be like, "Come on, you got to get it." Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, no, it wasn't like too bad, but it was definitely at a point where like you were definitely the right amount of like hard on me where it like didn't
Yeah.
affect me. I never thought anything of it, but it pushed me and it made me a better skater. Like
Wow.
I think it was like the Navy SEALs training of skateboarding, skating with you growing
So
up.
I always wondered like what it was from your perspective, like I was always never sure like if you even remembered like how much we skated or so it's
Yeah.
cool to hear this. Yeah.
No, that was literally our life for a decade, like every single day. Skate park,
Every day.
skate spots,
Yeah.
filming, everything. So, yeah, I'm grateful for it. I think going through that with you is like the reason why I'm at where I'm at now. And I'm like super grateful for that.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, same here. It's kind of like
yeah.
where our paths are, constantly like weaving in and out. So it's cool.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Um, I want to jump back to like where we left off with the college stuff because
Okay.
I was curious. Like, did you learn valuable lessons going to school for business? Like, did you use that stuff, or do you feel like you just learned like that? This nomadic kind of YouTube lifestyle, and those things are the main things you use, or was it the business stuff? Did that help a lot?
It's a good question. I would say It definitely trains my mind a little bit to help like with starting Fortune and like even applying what I learned in business school to a skateboard company and just getting a better understanding and even making more connections in the business world and just learning how a business works and even like how credit limits work if I need to buy merchandise and how to
Yeah.
collect invoices. Not to say it's if you didn't go to school for it, you could definitely figure it out. So if I had to do it all again, I would probably not have gone to school for 4 years, to be honest. If
Really?
I had like one regret in life, it's probably going to school for 4 years. Not that I
What?
didn't love it,
Yeah.
but 4 years of your life is a lot of time. Like at 31, it's like it's a
Yeah.
big chunk of my adult life.
Were you
Um,
making videos before you were in college, or did you start in college?
um,
I
definitely
mean, I know you were
started.
making, I know you were
Yeah,
making
like we were
videos,
making
but
skate videos,
right, right.
and then making other types of videos. It started in college, and
Okay.
that's
So
when I
maybe
like
you may have not come across it if you didn't go to college. You know what I mean? Or did you like,
right.
yeah.
I feel like I credit more of getting into YouTube from skateboarding rather than
Okay.
like college getting me into it. I think maybe I got into YouTube in a sense because I didn't want to go down the finance route. So I was like, I need to figure out an escape
Yeah.
and somehow to make a living doing something I love more than crunching numbers and cold calling.
Yeah. It made you realize like you didn't want to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no better way to find out what you want to do in life is by doing things that you know you don't want to do.
Yeah. For real. Wait, so you were at what point did you like all right, so you're doing Fortune, the
Hmm.
company's doing well, and then you kind of went into more vlogging and like making a living off of that,
Hmm.
right? Like doing brand
Yeah,
deals and things like that.
yeah.
Um, was that, conscious or that just kind of like fall into your lap as you're making videos,
Well, I just started to realize again, like making a living off of skateboarding is tough. There's a lot more better margins in the clothing, and like luckily that was doing well. But even still, it was getting to a point where I was looking for something new as a career almost. Like, still wanted to do Fortune, honestly. Like, I still even have like the IP to it and could operate it, but for right now, not doing much with it. But I do think it was just like becoming such a not even a chore, but it wasn't fun anymore when I was just operating Fortune as a business and not really loving it. It was almost like damaging my relationship with skateboarding, to be honest,
Yeah.
where I wasn't like excited about it. And as soon as like I stopped doing it, I like reignited that love for it and being like, this is what I do as my escape from life, and this is what I love to do. And I don't have to rely on like posting about it or like making money from it. So I'd say it was like I was really starting to realize that where it was like I know I love skateboarding, always will, but to make money out of it is not the easiest for everyone,
It's
and it
tough.
can damage your relationship. So I started dabbling more in the kind of like vlogging world and fell in love with that. And yeah, for like the past 6 years, have like been able to make a successful living,
Yeah.
traveling to like 60 something countries and getting to like work with huge brands. So it's been awesome and still get
Yeah.
to skateboard and still get to be a part of that world, but not from a like money making mindset, which is nice.
For sure. And I've seen it personally, like your excitement for skateboarding like come back just like it
Yeah.
was. And it
Yeah.
is tough. Like if you're involved and really know an industry and you're like, just fully involved in it, it's tough to like make money on it and you're like involved with everyone. It's
Hmm.
different than if you just jump into some field you didn't like, you know,
Yeah.
you're kind of
Yeah.
new
And
to.
especially when the business isn't such like a good business model.
That too.
Like when we
Yeah,
started
yeah, yeah, yeah.
skateboarding
Yeah.
25 years ago or something, like the price of a deck has not only stayed the same, but even come down in price for some companies. Like a board back then was 50 to 55 bucks. You can get boards now for like 35 at Zumiez.
Yeah.
Like
It
that
literally doesn't
just
make
doesn't make
sense
sense. Yeah.
at all. Yeah. It's like
And they've only
everything else
gone
in the
up
world
in
went up.
price.
Yeah.
Like the cost of them, which is crazy. So it's like the margins are just getting smaller and smaller. So that's what was frustrating when it was like,
Yeah.
it's not like I was making decent money from it. I only lost money from the skateboards. Like, even though I was doing it for
Really?
4 years of my life, I never made
Yeah.
$1.
Which is crazy
Lost
because you're
money.
like in Zumiez. So like if you can't make it work there, it's like
Yeah. That's because,
yeah.
like,
And you had
low
Manny involved,
margins.
you know?
You're paying riders, they're
Yeah.
getting royalties, you're paying, sales guys. Like, as the owner, though, I never made a dime. I only lost like a little bit of money, not
Yeah.
anything crazy, but I
Right.
was devoting so much energy to it, to just like losing money. And
Wow.
from like
Yeah.
my finance mindset, I was just like looking at the numbers. I was like, this business model that we have going on, like,
Yeah.
isn't working out too well right
Yeah.
now.
Skateboarding's a tough world.
Yeah, you
Tough
need
world
the soft
to
goods.
yeah.
And that's what was able to like keep me going, was the clothing. There's a lot better margins there. It's a lot easier to sell to other people, because skateboarders also don't like paying for skateboards.
They don't like paying for anything. I worked at a
Nothing.
skate park. Everyone wanted to come in for free.
Yep.
Everyone wants to be sponsored and get free stuff or
Mhm.
like so yeah, it's a tough industry.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I'm glad I
Yeah.
learned, early on in my career, and I do feel like a lot better about my decision. Not saying I wouldn't potentially get back into the skate world again, but like definitely with a different mindset and not relying on that as my sole income, because
Yeah.
I don't recommend anyone trying to like be like, I'm gonna start a skateboard company and I'm gonna live off of this and support a family. Because
Yeah.
it's
Def-
definitely not, I'm not gonna say it's not possible, but it's not
yeah.
something that many people can
Tough.
pull off. Yeah.
Yeah. So, with the brand deals, how did you go about like starting that route? Were you getting emails or did you reach out to companies or, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So, I was doing skate vlogs to start, and then started going a bit more just like lifestyle adventure storytelling on YouTube. And when I got my first brand, like my first decent one was like a company, Storyblocks, which is like stock footage that you can download.
Okay.
And I remember that was like $600 for like a 30-second integration. I was like, wait, what? You're gonna pay me $600? Do you know how many
Yeah.
skateboards I need to sell to make a profit of $600? Like,
Yeah.
literally like so many
That's
skateboards.
crazy. Yeah, you think
Yeah,
about that in terms of work and frustration, like all this stuff. You're just like, I'll just stand here and record this for like two
right.
minutes.
And it was
Yeah.
a product I actually
Yeah.
used too. Like, even to this
Right.
day, I use that company. So I was like, fuck yeah, like I am down to do that. So
Yeah.
I can like, again, like stop trying to make an income from relying on skateboard sales.
Hmm.
And that kind of like got my mind thinking, where I'm like, wait, there's something here. And it was also
Yeah.
still early on, because this is 2016.
Right.
So 2016, 2017. So it was still so new, and I just like really thought about it, and I was like, where do I see this going in 5 years? So I think it could just stay stagnant like this, or do
Yeah.
I think social media is gonna like explode and like grow? And I was like, I bet every dollar I have that
Yeah.
it's gonna just boom. Just seeing how the world's shifting, I knew
Yeah.
that it was just only gonna exponentially grow, which as you know, it did.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm glad like I was able to get into the game early with it and
Yeah.
get to like ride the wave up. So yeah, it kind of just like all happened in being in the right place, right time. Also like, I was like one of the first like lifestyle guy vloggers kind of in New York, besides like a couple of like Casey Neistat and a couple others.
Yeah.
So it was like able to dominate that market. Obviously now I've expanded into other verticals of categories of content, but
Yeah.
just like being in the right place at the right time, and like believing in it first, and like wasn't so saturated back then. So now makes it a lot easier, just kind of having like created a name for myself somewhere.
Yeah. You got in at the bottom. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like
basically.
no one was
Yeah.
doing like huge brand deals really back then. Like, it was still so new. The
Yeah.
like influencer marketing, I guess, market cap was probably like 100th of where it's at now.
Yeah. I remember seeing that's when it really started clicking for me that you were onto something. I think you got like a Sony sponsor or Samsung or
Yeah, yeah. It was
Bolt
Sony. That
or
was like
something
my
like that.
first big one. That
Sony.
was like
Yeah,
they gave
Sony.
me
Yeah, yeah.
10 grand to like film a video in Thailand with their new action camera. So I was like,
Insane.
wait, you're like skateboards
Yeah.
I got to sell to make $10,000? Like,
Yeah.
I won't make that in like 2
Wow.
years. Um, so that was like a dream come true. And that really sparked something where I was like, wait, I can definitely take this and like actually build a
Right.
life out of making content. But yeah, Sony, shout out to them. Like, they're
So
the ones that like
yeah.
really made me believe. We were actually together when I applied for that. We were on a road trip on the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
and we were
Pacific
like
Coast
still.
Highway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We were on the Pacific Coast Highway, and I remember I was like, "Oh, dang! It's the last day to apply to this like Sony contest and like write a pitch to them on what video I would do." I remember submitting it at like 2 a.m. after driving all day.
I actually remember that. Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
I know. Like, I remember just like, I
Yeah.
gotta submit something, and somehow like they loved my pitch about going to Thailand and like attached the camera underneath my skateboard, and I'm like sketching on a tuk tuk, like attached it to like an elephant and like monkeys.
Yeah.
Like, it was a sick video, but they were the ones that like made me really believe in like, dang, like I could actually make a living doing brands work on YouTube.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild. So
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure you get that deal and you go there and you're just like so pumped. You're getting every angle. You're just like trying to make that video as best as you can because you're
yeah,
basically trying to springboard off of that, essentially,
right.
right? So
And it's crazy how much whenever I am like filming, even if it's like action stuff or whatever type of travel stuff, I still relate back to how I film skate videos of like how many attempts like getting it
yeah,
right and perfect. Like, oh,
yeah,
that was a sketchy take of like that's not the exact vision. Like,
right. Got
needing
it
to do
first
it a
try.
million
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
And that's that skater mindset where it's like you'll try something 1,000 times until you get it, and it's got to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, I can relate to that because sometimes, like when I'm skating across America, I would be skating up a hill and I leave my phone on a tripod to get a shot
Mhm.
and like skate. People are like, why are you doing this? Like an extra skate up a hill, and I'd be like, it wasn't perfect, and do it like four more times. Like, what am I doing? Like, I gotta get going.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's
no,
that skater mindset.
yeah, no, exactly. That's why I'm like so grateful to be a skateboarder. Like, for life to have that mindset of just pushing yourself. Even if you're eating it on a trick, you're not leaving until you either can't walk or you
Right.
land it.
Yeah, I mean, you go through so much mentally, physically. Like you're going through physical pain. So once you go to
Mhm.
like you're filming a video, you're just like, all right, I could try this forever till I get it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you really get hardened from skateboarding.
Yeah, no, totally. Mentally, physically, everything. And it like sticks with you for life, which is great because
Yeah.
I feel like it like makes you just like tough as nails.
So what was your favorite country? Because you've been to like I don't know what 60 plus somewhere. In there?
65, something like that. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite? What would you say your favorite country is?
I would definitely say somewhere in Southeast Asia. Like, I love like the Philippines or even like Bali, super awesome. Like, I know you love that. Like, they got
Yeah,
a lot huge skate scene out there. A lot of the bars even have like pools in the back and everyone's
I've
drinking,
seen that.
partying. There's
Yeah.
bands, and then there's like a sick like 8 foot pool. There's a lot of skate parks. Surfing's awesome out there. It's also wildly affordable compared to America.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely say Indonesia is probably like up there. Japan is amazing. Also, Japan is ironically like taking over the world in skateboarding as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I would say somewhere in Asia, one of those two countries, they're like at the top,
Yeah.
Japan or Indonesia.
And is there a place you live besides NYC, or you think you'll be there forever?
I love New York so much. Like, we're from New York. We grew up mostly in Long Island. My dad
Yeah.
lived in the city, and like I was always here every weekend, and even we were skating here every weekend. My whole family's still here, so I think for that part, I'll like always want to have a place, but it would be cool to like fully live somewhere else for a while and like live a
Yeah.
slower life because, as you
Yeah.
know, New
Oh,
York
you
City
you
is
go
like,
slower. You wouldn't go to like Dubai or like something like that. You go to
I
like
guess, like if I were to like go fast and I'm like I need to push my career, New York's the place to do it. Like,
that's true.
no better place in
Yeah.
the world to grow your career. But it's like a fast life every single day. There's something. You're out every day, all day.
Yeah.
So I feel like if I were to move somewhere or get a second home, it would be somewhere that's complete opposite. And I think that's why I love the places like in Bali or Indonesia, where it's like a much slower pace of life. You wake up, you surf,
Yeah. Yeah.
you like go to the beach, then you go to like the bar that has a skate park in the backyard at night.
Yeah. So
So I would say I would need both that to contrast and balance out
yeah.
the crazy life of New York.
What do you think? Do you think New York had that same effect like skating, where it kind of hardened you, where like every day you gotta kind of gotta keep up with everything going on around you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, like I feel like everyone needs to live in New York at some point of their life
I
because
still haven't.
yeah, you got to come out. It's not far from you. You got to make it happen
Yeah,
because like skateboarding, it's taught me so many life lessons. It's made me the person I am today for the better. It's made me harder, have a better mindset, better like work ethic, how to connect with people. Um, but it's also a very tough place to live. Like it can make or break you. So I would
yeah,
say I love it for that, and you have to understand that before moving to a place like New York City. But if you can survive here, you can survive anywhere.
yeah. So what would you recommend? Like someone moving there with basically nothing, a dream, and they could barely afford rent. You know,
So what
like
I
what?
did,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, just look at your template. That's you already put
yeah,
it online. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, no, literally, that's what's cool too. Like I feel like people think like once you start, like right now I have a nice apartment with views of the Empire State Building, and it's like people think you must have been born into something like that when you see someone, but it's like I have proof. Go to my YouTube channel, go to
yeah,
2016. If I came from money or like had a handout, then why in the world would I live in an apartment that could barely fit a twin bed in a 6-story walk up with 7 strangers as roommates?
yeah.
Like,
I remember. I
I
went there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like it all started. I wouldn't say from like the very bottom, but like very
right.
minimal level where I was still, worried about how I'm gonna pay rent, how I'm gonna
Yeah,
survive. So I guess my advice is there's a million ways to make money in this city, and if you are like hungry enough to like push your real dream, you might have to do some crazy side hustles. Like I was a burger delivery boy, I did like dog walking, I was doing like random like extras in movies and like random modeling jobs like that
yeah.
anyone could get. Like even on like Craigslist, I was a mover with you one summer.
I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't last long, that was a
No,
tough ass job.
that's when you're like, I'm doing YouTube. Forget this.
Yeah. Um, so it's like there's so
Yeah,
many opportunities here where it's like if you wanted to become a pro skateboarder, even where I know that so many people are moving to New York, not just LA, like back in the day, that there's a way to like still skate all day, every day, film, whatever, but then maybe at night you're doing Uber Eats, you're working as a bartender. Like there's so much
right.
money in the ecosystem here that it's a lot easier to make decent money than anywhere
Yeah,
else in the country.
that's true. Yeah, any time of the day, any field, basically, like it's all there. So if you want to
Yeah.
push, like there's an option.
hmm Are
Uh,
people still moving? Like, I remember noticing like a couple of years ago, a lot of people are moving more to New York to like make it as a skateboarder.
yeah.
Do you see
Uh,
that a lot still, or not so
I
much?
mean, I don't know. That's a good question. My
Yeah,
finger's
because I just
really
feel
off
like
the
the
pulse with that stuff, but I would
yeah,
still say, I mean, California is probably still reigning supreme with that
yeah,
stuff. Yeah,
yeah. No, I'm sure it is, but I feel like I've seen a shift a little bit in like a lot of people moving to New York just because there are some companies now, but also that style of skateboarding is so in the like whole palace and like
that's true.
urban, the whole
Yeah,
even Supreme like the style of skateboarding in New York. I feel like has really like become so popularized compared to the old just Baker jumping down staircases in LA.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it's definitely come up a lot, but ultimately, like, even when I was just out there and I look back at the New York scene, it's just crazy the difference between the two. I
Yeah.
think weather seriously has like so much to do with it, you know?
hmm
Like
Yeah.
it just that's what bred I feel like the skate scene out there. Just being able
hmm
to skate, year round.
Yeah. Are you
Yeah.
gonna ever release another video part?
I think so. We'll
Yeah.
see.
You
Yeah,
got
I don't
another
know.
one in you?
I mean, hey, Tony Hawk just released one at however old he is, so if he's still
Yeah.
doing it, I could still push.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
about
You
you?
still got at least 15 more years then. You're good.
What about you?
I
Get
would
you
love
out.
to. Yeah,
Yeah?
like again, like I still love skateboarding so much and like still do it, and it is nice that like I don't have to like rely on anything from it and just do it like out of true passion and love. So I do feel like I would love to like push myself and do something like that where it's like not to get sponsored
Right.
or not to like try and make it where it's like this is just for me. Like obviously would share it on the internet, but it would be cool to push myself in and see what I can still
Yeah.
do.
Wouldn't you get worried? You don't get worried about like getting hurt or something like that, so you can't go vlog or
You know,
whatever.
like I still skateboard a lot, so it's not like
That's good.
I am not healthy with it or know my capabilities. And I think I never really got hurt that much like when we were skating, like from the 15 years. Like I never broken a
Yeah.
bone in my life.
Yeah, you had
I
one
had
bad rolled ankle, I think.
Yeah, I had
That's
one
all I
ankle tore a
remember.
ligament.
Yeah.
That's how I started Fortune was had one I so I'll get into it, but in college I was still pursuing pro skateboarder.
Okay.
I was 19 years old, a sophomore in college, and I remember like still cutting class to go to the Atlanta Dam Am, going to Tampa Am. I had, at this time I'm probably sponsored by Vans or Nike and like Zoo York, was getting hooked up by like a couple other companies, and filming video parts was like pushing the limits to even the point I'll never forget this now seeing him grow up. But Tyshawn Jones, I remember when he would see me at the skate park, he used to be like, "It's the Brett Conti." And now he's skater of the year like multiple years in a row. I'm like, I'm never gonna live that down.
That's funny.
Uh, so, at this part, I'm like in my prime, like 19, have the vision, like I could see myself like really going somewhere with it potentially, but in school as well. And that was kind of difficult, but if I had to, I'd cut class like to make shit happen.
Yeah.
And I was filming a trick at Columbia University, on like they like some ledge into a bank, and I like mess up on the grind and land into the bank and just twist my ankle. And I thought it was like not bad. And I had that
Okay.
Danny Way mindset because he like had recently just did the Great Wall of China on like a broken ankle, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm fine. Like it hurts and it's like purple and swollen, but like I'm gonna land my trick, get my trick, go home." And I couldn't walk for 3 months. Like it was
Really?
so bad because it ended up being the ligament. So I guess it was just like adrenaline that kept it together,
Yeah.
but that thing was like just torn apart.
Oh
Um,
wow. I didn't even know that. I was speaking of that time you fell at the Coles rail in Long Island when you rolled your
That one,
ankle.
that one was bad, but I guess that was only like, but that one was not terrible. It was like a typical 1 month like takeout from skateboarding. But in college,
Okay.
like when I was in my prime, getting hurt like
Ah,
that's what set me back because that was like 6 months until I was good again. and
really?
during that time was when I started Fortune because I like still like wanted to like be in the skate world and keep my mind sane and do something I loved. So I got my grandma's sewing machine and brought it to my business school and was
Yeah.
sewing clothes and started the brand.
I thought
So
that
that's
was
really how
so
it started.
interesting that you were
Yeah.
like, I remember seeing that you were sewing like the labels on the hats and stuff like
Hmm.
that, and I was like, this guy could learn anything. But now it kind of makes sense a little bit that like you were like stuck in your room. You're like, all right, what could I do here? Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly how it started. Where Fortune would probably not have been born if I didn't get hurt. So it is like
Wow.
that perspective of like kind of life throwing an obstacle at you and kind of changing your path a little bit and getting around those obstacles. So in a way, I'm grateful, and I think that it all happened the way the universe wanted it to be. Like maybe I wasn't destined to be a pro skateboarder, and
Yeah.
kind of going more into the business entrepreneurial side of life was where I was meant to be. But
Yeah.
being a pro skateboarder is not easy. Like spending so much time with Manny, like it's a stressful job. It's stressful on your body. Like you can make good money. Like Manny's built a great career out of it,
Yeah.
but it's still not easy. It's what like there's probably 50 skateboarders, 50 to like 70 skateboarders that like make a decent living.
Yeah.
That like can drive a good car, support a family. Where a lot of the others still have to have part-time jobs even if they are pro with a shoe on fallen or something,
Yeah. Which is wild to think about. Like, in all these other sports, the athletes get paid pretty well. Even the guys that
pretty
like
well. You get
I mean,
paid
yeah,
a
even the guys
lot
that
of money.
that sit on the bench and they don't really do
Right,
anything,
right,
they
right.
make a good amount of money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild to think that just such a small percentage of skaters make an okay living. I mean, not
Yeah,
even like probably extravagant. You know what I mean?
right. It's
Um,
like if you're not on
but
Nike, Adidas or something, like you gotta fight somehow to like still make the dream alive.
Yeah, but at the same time, the skateboarders don't even want that influx of money. Like the core skateboarders, you know what I
Right.
mean? They're like they
Yeah.
want that stuff out, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's like what's kind of necessary to make the living, you know?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah. And I
which
feel like
where
you've started realizing
yeah.
that now that you've gotten older, that like I feel
Yeah.
like you're like, all right, need to at least make enough money to like support my fiance and myself.
Yeah, exactly, right. I can't do what I do if I can't afford like, pay my
Mhm.
bills essentially,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I mean, that's where the influencer thing comes, you could become a skateboarder and just be posting that you're in this hoodie or that hoodie, and now
Yeah.
suddenly you could make a living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it
Right.
kind of
Right.
is shifting away from depending on a brand or you know what I mean, like a sponsor, I guess.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so many of the few skate YouTubers even like it's cool that they get to make a living from skateboarding, but not having to rely on like trying to film a video part and finding a sponsor where it's like they can kind of build their own career with this new vertical of YouTube. And I even see a lot of now
Yeah.
pro skateboarders getting into it. Manny was even like one of
Oh
the
yeah,
first
he
like
was. I remember.
legit pro skateboarders that was like fuck it, like I don't care if people hate on me, like I'm gonna do that. That's cool and like probably gonna be good for me. And now there's
Yeah.
so many, or not so many, but now there's been like multiple pros that have seen that and
Yeah.
started like getting into it, which is cool. And I think
I
it's like the way the world's going.
Yeah, 100%. I remember on that trip thinking like he should really have a YouTube channel. Like I'd watch that. Like you're curious about what the pros doing, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It just made sense, but at the time, it wasn't like normal. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you probably feel like a pro. Like at that point, it's almost embarrassing. Like you're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm trying this new thing, no views. Like you know what I mean. But you have to be humble sometimes to
Yeah. No,
get that
totally. You have to
opportunity.
like deal with that potential humility where I remember when I was starting to do YouTube, and like at this point I'm still like a core skateboarder, doing Fortune like pretty core, like only in core skate shops, and then I started doing skate vlogs, and started like growing a decent amount, like was getting thousands of views on a video, but then getting made fun of so much by the core skateboarders, like even from my friends, from like the Bronze 56 guys who I know, like posting teasing me, and it's like I get it's all out of like good fun. It's not like actually like upsetting me, but like it's just like
Right.
it's a little lame to see that like you're trying to
Yeah.
do something that you believe in and like want to do, and then people trying to like bring you down a little bit. But
Yeah.
you always got to just fight the noise.
That's crazy, man. I like just to think about that. Yeah, that's a tough resistance to push through. It is like you say it didn't bother you, but I feel like all your peers and people like just kind of yapping. It's definitely tough, you know.
Yeah, like it's
You're like,
funnier
I'm not.
now, like looking
Yeah,
back, where I'm like, oh, like I didn't care, but probably at the time, like seeing like those guys like post about me, and then other people like commenting like, oh, this dude's whack, like that's
yeah,
lame, and then
yeah.
now looking back, I'm like, ah, like fuck them, like I get to do what I love every day,
Right.
but at the time, it probably hurt more than I'm saying now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because in the moment, these things feel so big, like all the comments or this or that. But you just keep doing what you're doing, and then 5, 10 years later, everyone looks back and they're like, "Oh wow, like he actually kind of knew what he was doing." You know what I mean?
Right, that's what's cool
Yeah.
too, where it's like maybe I used it even as motivation too, where it was like people not believing in what I was trying to do, but I had this vision, and now it's I think I've used that as motivation maybe a little bit to be like I need to prove to myself, but also like show them like, hey, this is what I was talking about. Like this is like where the
Yeah.
world I think is going.
Wow. Yeah, man. Yeah, it was just crazy to see that growth at the time. I remember when your channel was taking off,
Mm.
like I don't know,
Like
no
still
one
in the
was really.
skate world or going more lifestyle
Oh
at
no,
this
I'm
point.
well taking off like in the smaller sense in when you were
Okay.
doing the skate stuff because I was
Okay.
like it was different. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
interesting. Like it was like I wanted to see this path you were taking that nobody was taking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what made it interesting for me. So it's
Yeah.
cool to see where you've taken it now, and you're just like, you're going to every country, and it's basically fully paid for, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
like
I
by
making money
sponsors
from
and,
it.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how much of these trips are you working? Like when you're there? Like, do you get to go skate? Do you like, how, what's that look like?
Yeah, like some trips I brought my board to. Like when I go to Bali, I bring my board, of course, or like I brought my dude, I've carried my board across so many countries. Like I've literally carried my skateboard through the Sahara Desert. I'm not even joking. Like I literally had a
Really?
skateboard with me going through the Sahara Desert because I was like just traveling with it and had to attach it
Yeah,
to my camel. True story. But
that's
yeah, like I
funny.
brought it to like Thailand islands, like, because usually when I go on these trips to that part of the world, to Asia, it's for a long period of time, and it's like I need my board. I'm not gonna go
Right.
over a month or so without skateboarding. Like I got to bring it with me. So it does make it difficult when you're traveling through some countries where maybe you can't skate and still bring in the board. But now, especially when I'm going to other cities, like still get to bring it and like still get to skate a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, I would say more in like the cities, like in Japan or something like that, where like there's nothing more fun than cruising around a new city like on a
Yeah.
skateboard.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And I do have to say, I have met so many people around the world because of skateboarding, where skateboarding through Singapore ran or skateboarding through Singapore has happened in Malaysia, where just like randomly ran into people like skating and filming or whatever. And since you have a skateboard and they also see that like you don't like you look American or whatever, they're like so
Yeah.
intrigued, invite you to whatever they're doing for the rest of the
Yeah.
day, and I'll spend like the rest of my trip now with these new friends. So
Funny.
that's like just been such a cool experience, and like now they're lifelong friends because skateboarding, even in Malaysia, will have me like ignite these friendships.
Yeah. It's actually, I know I'm thinking about it. Back when I started, I would watch you kind of meet up with people through YouTube.
Hmm.
And that planted the seed of like, oh, this is a community. This is kind of like what it's used for. Like you're connecting with people. And I always loved that you embraced that side of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, hey, look at you. You've been able to do it like in that South America, Central America trip and like meet
Yeah.
up with so many people or even across the country. But yeah, it's definitely really cool to kind of like utilize skateboarding as a way to like connect other like-minded individuals.
Yeah. It's funny to see, like, when I was in Moldova, the
Hmm.
people, like, they never saw a skateboard. It looked like they never saw a skateboard before. I passed by and they're like, what is that? Yeah. Were you ever in any countries that were like skateboarding kind of wasn't cool there or wasn't even like legal, or
I do remember being on this island in Thailand called Phuket.
okay.
Phuket, it sounds
Yeah.
like.
Hmm.
And I remember we were filming skateboarding. Like my buddy had his drone follow me as I'm bombing a hill, and I remember people stopping their car and they thought like I was like suicidal almost, and they thought like I was like they didn't know what was going on. They're like, "Why are you on this plank of wood
Yeah.
like going down?" And everyone who stopped had like never seen a skateboard before.
Yeah.
So I would say like places in Thailand. Um, that's probably like the only time where I feel like I've been somewhere where like these people have never seen a skateboard in real life.
Really?
Because so many places they
Yeah.
have now,
That's
you
true.
know?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely grown since, especially since we started.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
What would
even
you
like I've
Yeah.
done South America through skateboarding, and it's like so many skaters out there, even like through Colombia and Peru and stuff.
Yeah. What would you say is like the most scary experience you had traveling? Did you run into anything gnarly? Are you generally in like safe areas or, have
Um,
you had any?
I've never had anything with like America's way more dangerous than a lot of these other countries.
Yeah.
So I never had anything with like come in harm's way of like other people,
Okay.
of like maybe someone like trying to rob me really. The only time I ever got robbed while traveling was in Hawaii, and it wasn't
Really?
even like yeah, like they robbed the car as we were like out like swimming with dolphins, and came back and the window was shattered and like all the
Dang.
gear was taken. So that's like the only time that's ever happened was still in America,
Yeah.
but overseas, there's been times where I've gotten bitten by a monkey and I didn't have rabies shots and then had to like go to the hospital and was like so scared and like it was expensive too to like go see this doctor and then like get shots and like had
Yeah.
to
You
spend like
must
a
have been
thousand
nervous.
bucks. Oh
You must
yeah, that
like,
was like a time where
yeah.
I was like, oh snap, like am I gonna like die? Because like a
Yeah.
monkey, if it's aggressive like that, there's a chance it might have rabies, because
For
that's like
sure.
a sign of having something like that, as if you're like aggressive. And it's not
Right.
like I was even doing anything. So I was like, calculating all these things of
Yeah.
what could have happened, what are the
Yeah.
percentages of like me dying, um, and yeah, like had to like rush to the hospital, and then had to get like
Yeah.
shots every 2 weeks in different places. It was
Were,
crazy.
were you nervous even going to a hospital in, a different country? Like, do you, because you don't know like what their procedures are, like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in Thailand it was fine, but then like for rabies specifically, it was like you had to get a shot on the 7th day, the 14th day, like the 20th day. You need 5 shots total. And the
Wow.
7th day, I was in Cambodia and I went to a hospital. And I swear to you, I love Cambodia. My mom is Cambodian, my stepmom,
Hmm.
but that hospital looked worse than like Rikers Island, like prison. Like it was so run down and like so sketchy. And I remember like the girl who was like about to syringe me with the rabies shot, like just wearing a t-shirt, no like mask, no gloves,
Really?
like didn't even see where she got that needle
Eating a
from. So I just like,
cheeseburger.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I just pray to God that like
Yeah.
not even that I get rabies, but I don't get any other diseases that might be on that needle.
Wow.
So that was a pretty
Yeah.
scary time. And now everywhere I make sure I'm like got all my shots, like yellow fever or whatever, so I don't have to
Yeah.
get it when I'm out there.
That's wild. Were you like, did you feel anything from the bite itself, or were you just,
No, not really.
no?
No, no, like that was fine. It was more like just seeing like bleeding
Yeah.
from like monkey teeth was just like that's probably dangerous.
That's alarming. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
luckily, so far, nothing like. I've had crazy experiences of like riding a motorcycle around the border of Vietnam and China for 5 days, and like meeting people and staying in their little hut for the night,
Yeah.
or good experiences. So luckily, nothing like too bad. Like haven't gotten like arrested yet or anything.
Yeah.
So
So I know you do your vlogs like, sometimes you're in a luxury hotel or this or that, but do you get to spend like do you still get to go and have those experiences where you like crash in someone's like small little place, or like, you know what I mean? Because sometimes that's where the best experiences are, like
yeah,
down at the floor level of the
yeah.
culture, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I still have like that raw adventure desire still, even though yeah, sometimes get to stay in like my last video is from like staying in the world's only 7-star hotel in Dubai.
Yeah.
That's like you have your own private butler for your whole stay. But those are cool and get to do those occasionally, but I do love the more raw adventure of like staying with random locals, not knowing like where you are by any means because you just like rode a motorbike for 2 days in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So I think getting out of I'd say getting out of my comfort zone are like my favorite types of trips.
Yeah, for sure. That for me, that's what like piques my interest. Like I'll
Yeah.
do a whole bunch of, I'll do anything, but I almost need to like have that kind of exploring the unknown,
Yeah.
aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, dude, we need to do a trip together.
I'm down. Skate trip, vlog
I know.
trip.
We
I'm
well,
down. Yeah, whatever.
we gotta see where if you guys are from a different country that are listening
Yeah.
right now, you gotta comment on the video where we should go because we need a cousin skate trip.
All right, let's go. We'll film a part in a month.
Yeah,
Me and you each. Let's
the
go.
shared part. Let's go.
Oh yeah. Hey Brett, I appreciate you sitting down and talking, man. It's been
Yeah,
awesome.
man. Thanks for having me on, and this was great, and I'm stoked for everything that you're doing, and couldn't be more proud to be your cousin, dude.
Hey, same to you, man. I'm proud of everything you've done, and let's skate next week if you're around.
Uh, Yeah, let's make Christmas sesh. We just had a
Oh yeah.
Thanksgiving sesh, so yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right, Brett.
All
Thank you
right,
again. All
peace,
right, be good.
Chad. See ya.
Later.